evening and welcome to News Watch this 17th of September 2020. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tonny, Omondi, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Let's begin with our top story tonight. Now, it's a win-win deal for all the 47 counties after senators unanimously agreed to pass a formula that will see the 47 counties gain money in the shareable revenue. 41 senators have voted to pass the recommendations of the 12-member committee that was tasked with unlocking the stalemate that almost sent counties to paralysis. The senators passed the formula after 10 failed attempts. The Council of Governors is now expected to end the county's shutdown that began Thursday. In the new formula, Nairobi gains the highest amount with 3.3 billion shillings to push its total allocation to 19 billion shillings. Dickens Luvanda reports.
So, Honorable Senators, the results are as follows. Abstentions 0, nays 0, ayes 41. The ayes have it.
After months of back and forth and disappointment in counties, the senators unanimously voted to resolve the revenue allocation stalemate after 10 failed attempts.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to request that we take this matter seriously, because outside there we are getting hit hard that Senate is pussyfooting. Senate is indecisive.
This House is being hit left, center, and right. Mr. Speaker, we cannot pretend that we have any more important business to discuss than to decide on this issue of revenue allocation to counties.
A white smoke emerged from the House during Thursday's sittings that was led by Speaker Ken Lusaka after a deal was reached by the 12-member-led Select Committee, which was formed to break the revenue impasse.
And further, take into account additional factors, including pastoralism, the livestock sector, the blue economy, the extractive industries, and wildlife and conservation, in determining principles and parameters of equitable sharing of national revenue among the counties moving forward.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move, and in so moving, I want to table the report of the Committee of 12.
A total of 41 senators delegates out of 47 voted in support of the Commission on Revenue Allocation CRA proposed third basis revenue sharing formula after amendments that ensured no county loses a coin.
Kwa niaba ya watu wa Mombasa na kwa niaba ya Kenya nzima, napiga yes.
Nairobi believes there is no Kenya A and Kenya B. We vote yes.
On behalf of the great people of Kitui County, who were supposed to be losing 500 million Kenya shillings, but now they have gained 1.563 billion Kenya shillings. And on behalf of the great people of Machakos, who have gained 1.4 billion Kenya shillings, and the people of Makueni, who have gained 700 million Kenya shillings, the people of Kitui, Mr. Speaker, vote yes.
The proposed formula takes into account 8 parameters, which include basic share, which has been allocated 20% of the allocations, population, which has 18%, health with 17%, poverty level, which has 14%, agriculture 10%, roads at 8%, land at 8%, and urban at 5%. In the new formula, Nairobi County, which has the highest population of about 4.397 million as per the 2019 population census, gains the highest amount with 3.3 billion shillings, pushing its total allocation to 19 billion shillings. Other top gainers are Nakuru with the 2.5 billion shillings, Kiambu County with the 2.2 billion shillings, and Turkana County with the 2 billion shillings. Lamu County's total allocation will shoot to 3.1 billion shillings, with Tharaka Nithi getting the least addition of 289 million shillings. This formula will be used in the next 5 years before another formula is proposed by the Commission on Revenue Allocation.
Fellow Kenyans,
President Uhuru Kenyatta has been commended for intervening in breaking the revenue share stalemate, which had threatened service delivery in counties, with the county governments now expected to resume operations that had been suspended due to lack of funds. According to the chairman of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya, besides not paying workers for 3 months, counties had accumulated pending bills, a move that risked total shutdown of service delivery. Kisumu County had already joined Meru and Machakos County in shutting down following the revenue allocation impasse.
County allocation of revenue.
Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV Newswatch.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has launched a 1.9 billion shilling school furniture project that will see Juakali artisans supply 650,000 locally assembled desks. Besides equipping secondary and primary schools, the project, which is part of the government's post-COVID-19 economic stimulus program, is aimed at boosting the Juakali sector. Speaking during the launch at a furniture workshop in Umoja Estate, Nairobi County, the president said the project is modeled on the ongoing Tonny Youth Employment Initiative. Alice Dan has this story.
The Juakali sector has received a major boost following the launch of locally assembled school desks project by the head of state. While launching the project on Thursday, President Uhuru Kenyatta said it will give the youth an opportunity to exercise their skills.
Our agenda is to ensure
the head of state, who was accompanied by Cabinet Secretaries Professor George Magoha of Education and Fred Matiang'i of Interior, reiterated his commitment to continue improving the lives of all Kenyans by creating an enabling environment for hard-working citizens to thrive. He directed the Ministries of Education and Interior to ensure that the project benefits artisans across the country. At the same time, Uhuru challenged local artisans to ensure they assemble and supply desks that meet the highest quality standards and advised project beneficiaries to form saving societies to grow their earnings from the project. The launch of the furniture project is in preparation to reopening of schools after the COVID-19 numbers appear to reduce. Earlier this week, Magoha said that there will be a larger stakeholder conference headed by Interior CS Fred Matiang'i and his health counterpart Mutahi Kagwe this month to come up with a conclusion about the reopening of schools. Professor Magoha, while launching the 100 million Eliud Kipchoge Library at Kipsisia Primary School in Nandi County on Wednesday, however, acknowledged that social distancing would be a problem amongst learners when learning institutions reopen.
I have told you in plain English that social distancing is going to be a challenge. How many times do you want me to tell you? And I ended up saying, if you want to maintain social distance, because our president, because he loves education, ordered children to go to school. The children are at school, 150% in some schools. So if you have a cubicle with 8 children, and it can only take 2, you want me to say that come this time, we shall have built 4 times.
For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Alice Diana.
As the government gears up to reopen schools in 2021, the Ministry of Education has issued tight guidelines that will guide the reopening. With schools administrations now combing through the regulations, parents have lamented that schools may increase school fees, something that the Education Principal Secretary Dr. Belio Kipsang has refuted. As our reporter Grace Ongoi tells us, schools will need funding to meet the new regulations.
The Ministry of Education has released a set of guidelines to direct preparation ahead of reopening of schools. The new guidelines will guide on social distancing protocols, sanitation and wearing of masks. The guidelines come days ahead of larger stakeholders meeting expected on Monday that will confirm dates for resumption of physical learning. It goes without saying that spacing of 1 meter shall be expected in all sitting spaces, playing areas and sleeping areas. This, however, will pose a challenge for public schools, as had been earlier mentioned by Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha. Additional to this is that classes moving forward shall be conducted outside as much as possible, with desks arranged in rows facing forward to minimize face-to-face contact. In the field, teachers will be expected to help learners substitute physical contact activities with those that allow safe distancing. A more harsher measure will be that no extracurricular competitions will take place, including music and drama festivals. In dormitories, double-decker bed occupants shall have 1 meter social distance. More importantly, we'll be enforcing these guidelines in washrooms of public schools that serve hundreds of learners per door. The new guidelines now stipulate that one door can only be shared by 25 girls and the same for 30 boys. To aid in overcrowding, however, there will be multiple breaks throughout the day. More specific guidelines on sanitation to help curb the spread of COVID-19 is provision of water for hand washing. Hand washing has been seen to be an effective way of keeping the virus at bay. Now, hand washing stations will be placed at strategic points. Another elephant in the room is to manage safe sharing of spaces. Schools with a huge number of students will be put on a strain as they will have to disinfect more times than others. More specificity has been put in matters of sharing desks, beds, tables, chairs and personal items to curb spread of the virus.
The government has released 1.9 billion Kenya shillings.
A raft of measures have been put in respiratory etiquette, including the reinforcing of health messages such as avoiding touching of eyes, nose and mouth, encouraging learners to wear appropriate face masks at all times, allowing learners and trainees with hearing impairment to put on clear face masks. Learners with developmental disabilities should get help in changing their face masks. As schools now grapple to meet the set guidelines, the government will need to finance schools in order to ensure seamless reopening. Grace Wangoi, Hope TV News Watch.
Away from that, senators have opposed the government's move to transfer the Kenya Meat Commission (KMC) to the Ministry of Defence, saying there was no public participation that was undertaken before the decision was made. KMC was last week moved from the Ministry of Agriculture Livestock Department to the Defence Ministry through an internal memo signed by Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya that directed Livestock PS to proceed with the transfer. In a motion moved by Machakos Senator Boniface Kabaka, the senators want to know how long the transfer of the commission to KDF will take effect and what prompted the transfer. The senators also want the Agriculture and Defence Cabinet Secretaries to appear before the House to explain what informed the transfer of the commission to the military.
The Speaker, this decision to transfer the functions of an institution established by an act of parliament to the ministry through an executive order, it sets a very bad precedent, Mr. Speaker. And because the Kenya Meat Commission is an institution that deals with livestock falling under agriculture, which is a fully devolved function, the Speaker, this Senate must make certain demands before this order is finalized. And one of the demands that this Senate can make, Mr. Speaker, is that full disclosure be made on the decisions that informed the move to transfer the functions of the Kenya Meat Commission to the Ministry of Defence. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it will be important for this Senate to make a demand that the Minister for Agriculture appears before this Senate before he does the final handover of the functions of the KMC to the Ministry of Defence. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you allow this to happen, and we see what has happened, Mr. Speaker, with the deed of transfer between the county government of Nairobi and the Ministry of Devolution. Even before the ink that signed the deed of transfer dries, we are now having issues, conflicts of interest, inability to deliver services. The Speaker, I support this statement and urge this House to make those demands and make sure that proper procedures are followed before these functions are transferred.
Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi has called on Kenyans to elect good leaders in 2022, who will help revive the economy. Speaking in Nyeri County during the burial ceremony for the late Mwalimu Gashania Kiai, the brother to human activist Maina Kiai, Mudavadi called on Kenyans to vote in credible leaders, adding that the country has overborrowed and pressure was now mounting on the economy. On his part, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga said that the people of Nyeri are yet to decide, together with their leadership, on whom they will back for presidency come 2022. This is the second time Mudavadi has been in the larger Mount Kenya region in a span of 2 weeks after attending another burial last Friday in Murang'a County.
This is a message that should go to all of us. That tribalism exists only in your head. The rest of us are human beings. And we must work even for this nation. Tunapofikiria, kwa sababu sasa tunaenda 2022. I will not vote along that line. And I want to pray that Kenyans also don't vote along that line. Because we are all, no one is of a lesser God. We are not children of lesser God because you are this or you are that tribe. Let us look, see, and this I think, kulingana na vile nimesoma, one of the edicts that we should look at to know whether wewe umesoma ni kama umetoa cobweb za ukabila katika fikira zako.
The formula must be correct. Nobody must feel that the formula is against them. So you are right. The formula must be right. But I'll come back to look for my votes on a different occasion. And I hope I'll be persuading, through logic, the voters of this region, and I'll not be using kifua. That is what Kenya needs. That is what Kenya is angling for. Kenya is yearning for genuine democracy, genuine free will of choice. That is what Kenyans are angling for. And if indeed you want to honor Kiai, I think let us all be ready to stand up to that commitment so that when the Kenyan votes, irrespective of where or she is, that vote must count.
Given us a true faith and a sure hope, strengthen in Jesus' name.
Now on to COVID-19 situation. The country has recorded 183 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of infections to 36,576. Addressing the media while giving the COVID-19 update, Health CIS Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said 5 more patients have succumbed to the virus, raising the country's fatality to 642. Mwangangi also said so far 945 healthcare workers have been infected with the virus, while 16 healthcare workers have succumbed. 82 more patients have recovered in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of recoveries to 23,611. In terms of county distribution, Nairobi leads with 54 cases, Kisumu 26, Mombasa 20, Kericho 11, Nakuru 10, Kisii 7, Machakos 6, Meru 5, Turkana 5, Lamu 3, Nyeri 3, Siaya 3, Kiambu 2, Kajiado 2, Busia 2, Homa Bay 2, Kilifi 2 cases, Samburu 2, Kakamega 1, and Embu County 1 case. All right, Newswatch now takes a short commercial break. We still have much more lined up for you on our bulletin tonight. Keep it Hope TV.
Welcome to Garden of Joy in Machakos by Optiven. This is a gated community that is strategically located only 7 minutes drive from Coma Town and 1.3 kilometers off the tarmac. It comes with a beautiful gate, chain link fence around the property, internal Maram roads, a borehole for steady water supply, a jogging track, a meditation park, and a children's play area. The title deeds are ready. Get your value-added plot at only 1.295 million shillings cash price. We also have flexible payment options of up to 12 months. Call us today on 0702 8310 83 or visit www.optiven.co.ke.
Tunakuletea burudani safi kutoka wanamuziki wa nyimbo za sifa na ibada, mahojiano ya moja kwa moja na mafunzo ya hali ya juu.
Dhamira ya mtu ikifa anaweza fanya anything. Because kile kinanitofautisha na mbuzi ni dhamira.
There was this time niliambia Mungu, mimi samahani Mungu, lakini naona umenifanya mimi kuwa daraja. Sitaki.
Ni mahali pa uchipuzi na ulezi wa vipaji.
Mwimbaji anaweza itisha akitaka, lakini unajua hiyo ni sauti
hajanunua.
Hujanunua, hiyo ni umebarikiwa nayo. So hiyo unaweza mupeane aidha bure ama. Lakini hii pande nyingine sisi tupe invest, ni investment tuna.
Tunabeba mwili, lakini mimi sikujua hii ni maagano nafanya.
Ungana naye Mwalimu Shaban Brima kila Ijumaa saa 2 jioni na marudio kila Jumamosi saa 10 jioni.
Machozi ya furaha nishangaze Baba, mashuhuda wangu watambua wewe ni Mungu.
Dunia ni mali ya Bwana na vyote vijazavyo.
Nguruwe ni mali ya Bwana au?
Ni mali ya Bwana.
Bata ni mali ya Bwana.
Ni mali.
Wewe kula basi. Acha mambo mengi.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Muislamu yoyote ambaye anamkataa Yesu, kwanza sisi tunamjua ni kafiri.
Bila huyu Yesu, mtu aendi kwa Baba.
Ungana na walimu wa neno wanapochambua masuala tata katika Biblia, wakiyalinganisha na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
Je, kuna ushahidi wowote Muhammad aliwahi na Qur'ani? Na hii Qur'ani muliitoa wapi? Halo,
piga simu moja kwa moja na pia uchangie kupitia SMS na Facebook.
Itawezekana kitabu cha Biblia ambaye mwanakiamini kuwa ni kitabu cha Mwenyezi Mungu ishindwe kumtabiri mtu ambaye ana wafuasi zaidi ya bilioni 100 duniani.
Je, Muhammad amekufa ama yuko hai?
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 2 hadi saa 4 ya usiku kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Human rights crusaders and community-based organizations have been called upon to chip in and assist women of poor background who are facing gender-based violence. A nominated civic leader in Mombasa County Government, Fatma Kushe, says there's increasing evidence that the ongoing global pandemic is fueling widespread violations of women's rights, including elevated risks of domestic violence and other forms of gender-based violence, GBV. Mark Kimondo has this report.
Gender-based violence cases have tripled in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, with women and young girls remaining the main victims. According to Fatma Kushe, who is a nominated civic leader in Mombasa County Government, the ongoing global pandemic of COVID-19 is fueling widespread violations of women's rights, including elevated risk of domestic violence and other forms of gender-based violence. Kushe was speaking in her home in Nyali after rescuing a homeless young mother who was abused by her husband and thrown out of their matrimonial home, forced to sleep in the cold for 5 days with a 3-month-old baby.
Nilikuwa nimeenda kibaruani, nikirudi kwa nyumba, nikamkuta amelewa. Akaanza tu kelele ati wewe umetoka wapi? Umetoka wapi? Nikamwambia mimi nimetoka huku kutafuta kibarua huku nikapata kidogo. Sasa alikuwa anataka hizo pesa zangu ninunue nao chakula, zingine nimpe, nikakataa. Ndio akaanza kunichapa. Kunichapa akachukua mwiko, akachukua paka na masufuria akawa ananipiga nao. Paka mtoto pia alikuwa ananichapa nayo.
Juzi kitu kama saa 2 nilikuwa natoka shughuli zangu, nikawa naingia nyumbani nikamwona mama na mtoto analia nje ya nyumba yetu. Nikifuatilizia nikamuuliza ni kitu gani kilichomsibu, akanambia kwamba amepigwa, ameng'olewa jino na akawa ana alama kwa mwili wake. 001.
Health CAS Mercy Mungangi earlier on urged Kenyans to address matters in a civilized manner and stay away from violence, with those found guilty of the acts to be punished. But despite this, the cases are still escalating, resulting in loss of lives.
Bwana huyo anasema kwamba bwana ni mlevi. Bwana amempiga mpaka ameweza kumng'oa jino. Ana maalama kwa mwili wake, ana alama kwa kichwa, kwa shingo. Alikuwa ana vidonda mpaka huku kote kwenye mdomo, ana vidonda. Lakini nashukuru hivi sasa ameweza kutibiwa na yuko sawa. Lakini mimi nasema wanaume, manake bwanake ni mtu ambaye yeye ni mlevi, jambo la kwanza. La pili, yeye ndo atafute vibarua vya kufua, alipe nyumba, atafute matumizi ya ndani ya nyumba.
Fatuma believes that the increase in gender-based violence cases has been accompanied by a decrease in the capacity of the justice sector to respond to the rights and the needs of survivors. Lucy Auma, 30 years old with 3 kids, now homeless, says her life seemed to be a journey of going to hell. According to Auma, she has endured an abusive marriage in Kidogo bus slums in Nyali for 12 years, but she cannot take it anymore from her husband Boniface Onyango, who is a changa distiller.
Niliripoti vile nilitibiwa hiyo, nikatibiwa Makadara Coast General, kajaza hizo mapitri. Nikirudi Nyali wakaniambia tutaenda kumchukua. Sasa kila nikipiga simu ananiambia kesho, sioni wakienda kumchukua.
Kushe took Lucy in and catered for her medical bills, where she was treated at Coast General Hospital and given a P3 medical examination report, and later proceeded to report the assault case at Nyali police station, but the culprit is yet to be brought to book.
Mimi nikajaribu kumsaidia, nikampatia pesa ili aweze kwenda zake hospitali kuweza kwenda kutibiwa. Akaenda akatibiwa, akaniambia sasa akafata process za kwenda polisi kuangalia kama atapata haki yake. Baada siku ya pili yake nikamuona tena hapa.
The MCS says that the increase in gender-based violence has piled up the stress brought by COVID-19 pandemic. He says the burden of taking care of Auma is heavy and is now calling on well-wishers to come to the rescue of the homeless mother by providing food, shelter and financial assistance.
Kitu ambacho naomba wale ambao wanajiweza kidogo waweze kumsaidia huyu mama aweze kupata haki zake na aweze kujikimu maisha yake na watoto wake. Manake yuasikitisha sana, analala kwa mabarabara, yuazunguka kila siku akitafuta vibarua, na hivi sasa huwezi kupata kazi kama una mtoto na mtu hakujui.
Tunabambanya Kiswahili ya Wajaluo.
Mark Kimondo, Newswatch.
Still at the cost, compensation of 545 Buxton Estate tenants will commence early next month to pave way for the implementation of a 6 billion shillings Buxton housing project, which has been at the center of controversy. The developer, Mombasa businessman Suleiman Shabal, confirmed that 240,000 shillings will be paid as relocation fee on October 1st, 2020, while 60,000 shillings will be deposited as guarantee for owning the new houses. However, the project's future hangs in the balance following the continued war of words between the developer and section of Mombasa politicians who have vowed to block it in court, citing illegalities. This is after a section of leaders from Mombasa have demanded for the suspension of the 6 billion shilling project steered by the Mombasa County Government.
Kuna hawa viongozi wanangoja mpaka wako kwenye ofisi zao na vichuzi vao ndio na raise bla bla bla. Zile siku 3 za public participation, kwa nini hukuja mbele ya watu 500 ukauliza hayo maswali ambayo unataka kuuliza ili ujibiwe sawa sawa? Why are you standing in the comfort of your office na vichuzi vako ndio unauliza bla bla bla? Where is the courage?
Wakati wa uchaguzi wa 2013-17 alipinga hiyo project. Leo yuko mezani na makuhani wanataka kula, sasa anakubali. Suleiman Shabal, tunataka kukuambia hivi. Wewe na banki yako, wewe na benki ambazo zinataka kuhifadhi, kukuchangia katika ujenzi wa nyumba, tunataka kutoa notice, especially to the bankers. Bank, listen to us very carefully. that if you invest your money with conmen and criminals, cartels, we are not going to allow. We will stand up as a team and defend what belongs to our people.
Tunapinga mjengo wa Suleiman Shahbal na county, kitu wanachokita renewal program, na tutatoa misingi yetu na tutashirikiana na wakazi kwenda kotini. Hii Suleiman Shahbal's project is the one of the most reckless form of land grabbing I have ever witnessed katika Mombasa yetu ya leo. Suleiman Shahbal aja, sijui PPP, sijui nilipokwenda Malaysia, nilipokwenda Singapore, alafu nilipokwenda China, mapilau kweli.
The Commission on Administrative Justice, CAJ, has begun lobbying for the domestication and implementation of law on access to information in the county governments. Commission Chairperson Florence Kajuju said the aim of the Commission, also known as the Office of the Ombudsman, was to ensure the Access to Information Act 2016 is domesticated and implemented in all the 47 counties to enable members of the public to access information from the government with ease. Speaking after meeting Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi, Kajuju said the Access to Information Act 2016 is an important law as it will ensure taxpayers are entitled to information.
We are calling upon all the county governments and with the support of the chair of the committee that they domesticate the Access to Information Act so that now the citizens can receive all the information they need and we will have lesser complaints. And the Commission has that mandate to ensure that every county has the Access to Information Act in place. Every public servant has a duty to release information to the public by whichever means that it can, because we expect every public officer from their offices to be able to have a website, to be able to have a portal through which that information can be released and citizens can access it as and when they require.
Kenya na wakilifi kwa jumla wangependa kujua hususan mambo ya tenders. Manake pale ndo pesa ya umma inatumika ili kupeana services kule. Na tukumhakikishia kwamba sisi kama serikali mtindo huu ama tabia hii ya kupeana habari kwa wananchi ilianza kitambo. Kama mjuavyo, kumekuwa na mwamko tofauti hivi majuzi kutoka kwa Wakenya. Wanataka kujua matumizi ya pesa ambazo zilitengwa katika kupigana ama kupambana na janga la COVID. Wakenya kila pembe wanataka kujua pesa hizi zilitumika kivipi. Kwa hivyo ile sheria ambayo Commission imetupatia, ile model law, kwetu sisi itatusaidia pakubwa, manake itazidisha na itatupatia nafasi nzuri kama serikali ya county kuona kwamba habari hizi zinamfikia mkazi wa Kilifi na Mkenya ili apate habari kwa wakati unaofaa.
The government's efforts in the fight against malaria has seen the country manage to reduce the number of cases seen in hospitals from 6 million to 4.6 million annually. Ministry of Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said that although malaria is treatable, it's sad that it continues to afflict and kill many people on the African continent. The CS spoke while delivering a video message to the Pan-African Youth Digital Consultation to develop a malaria youth engagement strategy on behalf of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the chair African Leaders Malaria Alliance.
It is my pleasure to welcome the many young people across the African continent to this digital consultation forum to develop a youth engagement strategy to fight malaria. Although malaria is not only treatable but also preventable, it is sad that it continues to afflict and kill many people on the African continent. There were 400,000 deaths due to malaria globally last year, 93% of those, unfortunately, occurred in sub-Saharan Africa, with a majority of them being women and children. As high as this number might seem, it is, however, gratifying to note that with increased investments made by countries and partners towards the fight against malaria during the past decade in Africa, it still constitutes a reduction in the burden of malaria from a high 900,000 deaths about 10 years ago. In Kenya, for example, we have been able to reduce the number of cases seen in our hospitals from 6 million to 4.6 million annually. It is for this reason that I set out a 4-point agenda to help African countries in their efforts to eliminate malaria in a sustainable way and contribute towards the achievement of universal health coverage.
Now, the month of September is known worldwide as the Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Now, millions of people don't know they have sickle cell trait because the trait does not cause illness and doctors recommend testing. Our reporter Faith Imani Mugo had a discussion with health experts on the condition that has killed many people, with many cases going unreported.
As the country battles with the COVID-19 pandemic, persons with underlying ailments have found it rough to cope. With September being the World Sickle Cell Awareness Month, the emergence of the pandemic has given the need for awareness more urgency. Health experts have cautioned that COVID-19 in itself can cause severe inflammation and injury to the lungs. This can take a greater toll if one has sickle cell disease, which is a group of inherited red blood cell disorders.
This time we're talking about COVID-19 as an additional risk for them developing a crisis, because any infection, not just COVID-19, in a sickle cell disease carrier, you're dealing with an issue of someone who's already partially immunocompromised, or their immune system is not as robust as a normal person.
For you to have full-blown sickle cell, we call it full-blown sickle cell, that is HBSS. It means your mother is a carrier and your father is a carrier. And that is the only way now you get sickle cell disease.
My dad knew he had the gene, and my mom also, they knew from their side of the family they had the gene. So when my sister and we started getting sick, like we were tested and found that we had the SS trait.
The symptoms and complications of the sickle cell disease are different from each person and can range from mild to severe. The symptoms of sickle cell disease include abdominal pain, bone pain, shortness of breath, delayed growth, fatigue, fever, and chest pain.
They end up with accumulation of something called bile in their system, which is a resultant of breakdown of protein. So you'll find they have yellowing of the skin, of the, what you call the white part of the eye, the conjunctiva. And in very severe cases, even producing very yellowed urine, or very dark urine, okay? So when we talk about the symptoms, so when we talk about the pain, if it's chest pain, your patient will come in really bad pain, and most of the time they will always be on some form of painkillers, on and off, to deal with the crisis.
Our signs don't necessarily have to be in your body. So like it could be like something small like excitement. Personally for me, when I get too excited, too nervous, too anything, I know. And then you get like two small headaches, a small pinch in your arm, in your leg. You just know definitely you're going into a crisis.
You can't do things like the other children. So you should be like, there are things you are limited to doing, like you can't play, you can't go to cold, because back then when I was feeling cold, my joints will ache.
Doctors say due to the impact of the disease, other infections may emerge on people living with sickle cell.
When you talk about pain, we look at the body organs that can be involved. So one of the most common is the lungs, so chest pain. Some could be spleen. The spleen is the organ that now one acts as a part of your defense, produces the white blood cells that fight infections. But if there's blockage within blood going to the spleen ends up unable to carry out its functions, so producing those white blood cells and also shrinking or becoming smaller.
In 2011, I remember I had the worst crisis and I almost lost my life twice in like a month. So I was ill. I had terrible bouts of pneumonia. After 2 days, I couldn't walk. I couldn't recognize myself. My body was shutting down.
It is saddening that during this time of COVID-19, some persons living with sickle cell disease are not able to buy their routine medicine, and many other families are choosing to skip medications due to their high costs. Yet their lives depend on the very medication, something that poses a challenge to manage the life-threatening ailment.
It is tough when someone calls you in the middle of the night and they tell you, I'm in pain, I don't have medication, and I don't have money to even go to hospital.
The meds, going to the hospital, that's expensive.
And when you're younger, it's even more difficult because crises come too often.
September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And this year, we wanted to make a big difference in lives of people living with sickle cell disease because they've had challenges even just to feed themselves because of the COVID pandemic.
Joan Chazima, who has founded the Joan Chazima Sickle Cell Foundation, calls on medical practitioners to focus their attention on the need for research and treatment of the sickle cell disease.
We need to do more. We need to train more health workers on how to manage people living with the condition because sometimes it gets difficult when you go to hospital and they cannot even manage you properly.
We'd also look at things like taxation on drugs and things like that that make it much friendlier for the patient who will have to use these medications for their life.
The good news, however, is that bone marrow transplant may cure the disease. Otherwise, treatment of the disease focuses on the symptom management.
With sickle cell disease, it's just basically how you manage yourself. You can avoid so many other things if you do the right things.
Because it's an inherited disorder, this is something you will have to live with your whole life. So we don't talk about it being treated per se, but more of being managed. And then we treat like when you're dealing with issues of dehydration, so we can treat dehydration or deal with dehydration. Infections we would treat or normally use maybe antibiotics. Then there's the most marked manifestation called anemia, when your red blood cells are broken down so much that the ability to carry oxygen is a bit compromised. So in some cases, we may transfuse the patient, may add blood, so that the carrying capacity of blood of carrying oxygen is enhanced. But we shy from that because of something called iron overload.
This month's theme, dubbed Sickle Cell Matters, is geared to create awareness about sickle cell and to garner hope for the people living with the ailment. Faith Imani Mugo for Hope TV Newswatch.
With that report from Faith Imani Mugo, let's take another short commercial break on Newswatch. We'll be back with business news.
Join John Carson every weekday as he takes us on a journey through the Bible.
Whoever shall seek to save his life, if you go back to living for yourself, you're going to lose it. But whoever shall lose his life, give up his life for my sake, he shall preserve it.
Enjoy interesting, knowledge-packed, yet simple teachings through his humor and in-depth understanding of God's Word.
The last people that tried to put God in a box, literally, he rose again. He wouldn't stay in their compartment. If God was small enough for me to figure out, he wouldn't be big enough for me to worship.
Tune in to Hope TV for John Cousin every 10 p.m., 4 a.m., and 10 a.m. weekdays on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Those who are bent on criminal activities must be dealt with firmly by our security agencies.
Tukishikana na ukitujoin inawezekana. Number one thing ikanifurahisha sana kuwa kwao ni kwa sababu kuna protection. Utakimbia tu kwao na uambie nimechokozwa na mtu hapa. Kasikia tu conviction ndani yangu, nikasikia better kukaa kwa kichaka kuliko kwa watu, because watu wanatafuta kichwa chako.
Circumstances can sometimes lead one to make painful decisions in life.
Nikaambiwa na juu ya hii kitendo yenye umefanya, now we want you to give us somebody in your family, and I was told kichwa yenye tachukua ni ya mama yako.
He lived in the jungle for 4 good months for the sake of his life. However, things started to be tough, and even more than he expected. Join with me, Mark Kimondo, as I take you through the story of Peter Machari Njomo, only at Hope TV.
Welcome back. Talo Oil has announced it will reduce its Kenyan staff over the coming months as the work program required to deliver the comprehensive review is compiled. In a statement, Talo has said that henceforth it will be sharing resources with its joint venture partners, with the final headcount yet to be confirmed. Earlier in February, Talo issued a redundancy notice indicating it would cut up to 650 staff members from its Kenyan operations. Meanwhile, the company has announced the exit of its Kenyan Chief Executive Officer Martin Mbogo effective December 31st, subsequently appointing Madan Srinivasan as its next CEO for Kenya. Talo will be making a series of changes to its organization in Nairobi and London as part of wider changes to the Talo Oil Group globally and following the recent extension of its license in Kenya. However, the company is expected to continue with early oil exploration activities, which include further export batches of Kenyan crude oil to the international market to test the quality of output. The Kenya Tea Development Agency Limited, KTDA, is in the final stages of setting up Africa's first Japanese specialty green tea production factory as part of its long-term product diversification strategy. The factory will be located at the organization's Kangaita Tea Farm in Kirinyaga County and will be used to pilot the processing of the specialized Japanese Sencha green tea, which on average fetches a higher price in the market than traditional black CTC tea. Speaking after a progress tour of the factory, KTDA Management Services Managing Director Alfred Njagi said the project is a collaborative effort between the Japan International Cooperation Agency, the Agriculture and Food Authority and KTDA, whose success will be rolled out to other factories.
This project is cooperation between the Japanese Cooperation Agency, JICA, International Cooperation Agency, JICA, the government of Kenya through the Tea Directorate, AFA Tea Directorate. For the line, we got funding from JICA to the tune of 150 million shillings. and also KTDA holdings have been invested, so that the overall budget is 330 million shillings, and we are grateful for the Japanese government for funding this project, so that we can diversify the products that the smallholders process in order to ensure that they are guarded or safeguarded against the fluctuations of tea prices for CTC, and also to diversify the product mix for the smallholder tea farmers. We have a farm, the idea, 350 acres under tea, so that's where we'll be getting the leaf from, and that is not the entire leaf. It's just, as I said, to start with, it is very little leaf that will be coming into the plant. The rest of the leaf will continue being processed at the Kangaita factory.
Well, that's where we end it for tonight on Newswatch. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tonny Omondi, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Muridhi. Have a good night and God bless.